Episode number 3, 10 and 20-minute NFL draft team series. This time it's the 20-minute version because I'm blessed to have a special guest, Mr. Jeffrey Dawson from ECSI Sports Investments. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I got the backdrop of Gillette Stadium. They're actually out there practicing today. I'm glad you put me on the 20 minutes because you'd probably get to the first question and then the bell and the buzzer would be going off. So I promise to try to be short, sweet, and stay to the point. How's that?
Well, it's an experiment in terror, as they say with me. When I did the 10-minute ones, I didn't quite know, can I talk for 10? Will I talk for too much? First two went pretty good. So let's kick it off right now. Let's start the clock right now on the New England Patriots. And although we're going to cover the draft and we're going to cover statistical stuff and keys and so on, I want to get, first of all, what your impression was when the season ended last year in disappointment, a lot of losses, more than usual. How did you feel about New England at that time? And were you pessimistic, optimistic that they could turn it around as of your thoughts of last January?
I think the season came in with some optimism. Was this Bills last year? Which Mac Jones would we get? They kind of threw him under the bus in year 2 with Matt Patricia and Joe Judge. So there was a feeling maybe they could resurrect Mac Jones. And obviously Bill, final year of a contract. Well, not so much a final because he had one more year, but what was going to happen? And I guess the season finale really was, I think it was in Germany when they played the Colts. That was the game that Mr. Kraft had circled, almost one of those must-win games because their popularity there was number one versus the Chiefs. They were the 1-2 punch there. A bad game for Mac Jones and company. So from there, the tailspin began. We're talking about a team, 2 decades of success with Tom, 6 rings. Tom leaves the building. Bill we trust. We were supposed to keep the chains moving, draft Mac Jones, the only quarterback in that draft class to lead a team to the playoffs that year. And after that, it was just loss after loss, and accepting the loss, the benching of Mac Jones, in comes Bailey Zappi. The rest was history after that run.
The offense never got going, and I look at the stat sheet. One of my key things that I do is analyze 2023 before I go on to 2024. 21 offensive interceptions, a rare, under Bill Belichick, -11 turnover ratio, a rare second straight year of poor special team play, especially the rookie kicker. And then in free agency, I didn't see much. They brought in Hooper in the tight end. They brought in another running back. They lost a few DBs. How do you feel about what happened in the offseason? There weren't that many changes, at least from my point of view.
No, not at all. What was it, 2 years back when they had the spending spree, when they went and got a couple tight ends? They brought in Kendrick Bourne. They were paying retail times 10. It was kind of comical. They spent $250 million in 10 minutes, but they didn't get anything. I guess the tight end there, I'm drawing a blank. Henry is serviceable. They brought in Jono Smith that year, and he ends up in Atlanta. So their drafting and their free agent spending was not good. There were no game breakers. There was nothing that moved the wire, that got you excited. So it was, again, all in Bill we trust. It was Bill's game plan. Bill knows what he's doing. When the bottom line, Ron, is he really didn't know what he was doing. That's what we're saying back here.
So we're on to the draft now, and obviously they have to plug some holes. So we go to the page on the draft, and you'll see my needs up there. Obviously, quarterback was up there. The wide receiver room just hasn't done it for me for years. So I have, in parentheses, 2 wide receivers needed. Who's that stud left tackle or offensive tackle? That's missing as well. Matthew Judon is an excellent pass rusher. Of course, he was hurt into 5 or so games into the season, and they just couldn't get to the quarterback after that. They need a companion with the return of Judon. And then I thought they were a little short at nickel. Those were my needs. Listed are the draft choices that they made. Walk us through what you feel happened during the draft.
I'm going to make one statement before I dive into the draft, and it slipped my mind. The signing of Juju Smith-Schuster with the bad knee was another downfall to Bill and another wasted money. There were other wide receivers out there. His infatuation with Juju was a red flag for us. So I apologize on having that one slip my mind. You nailed all the holes. And as I said to you backstage, they filled all the holes. So in other words, if you hand your wife a grocery list and you plan this beautiful 7-course meal, and you want this type of beef, you want this type of olive oil, you need this type of cheese, and then she comes back and it's generic. As Bill Parcells says, if you want me to cook, will you let me go buy the groceries here? And so you start at the top. We needed a quarterback, and we did a pre-draft show, and they weren't getting to 1. We knew that was a foregone conclusion. Caleb was going to the Bears. Could you steal and get up to 2 for Jaden Daniels? Well, Washington made that clear. So now it came down to Drake May. And a lot of experts love Drake May. We have, if you look in the landscape of UNC quarterbacks, it hasn't panned out too well the last 2. UNC quarterbacks, or were you going to take a stab with JJ McCarthy, who was gaining all that steam, or you could have really got cute and traded down and tried to get a Michael Penix Jr. or a Bo Nix. So they, as I said to you, they settled for Drake May. Well, don't forget they brought over Jacoby Brissett. So the plan is for him is Brissett to start and also mentor Drake May. Now, what happens if Drake May has an amazing camp, looks great in preseason? I don't have that answer. But the start here is grab the clipboard, kid. Like Mahomes, you have a hitch. Your footwork is not good. Our offensive line is still shaky. We don't want to bury you in the first year. So it's kind of with some baby gloves there, Ron, when it comes to Drake May.
Now, as far as the rest of the draft, I had heard post-draft that the tackle guard that they drafted from Penn State, listed 68th overall, Caden Wallace, was going to be tried at left tackle, which I think would be a major disaster. Now we're not sure. I'm hearing some kickback that he might not start there, but either way, he was drafted 68th. For me, he was a star, also eligible rating, which means that I had about 13 offensive tackles rated ahead of him. So I'm a little concerned that he's not ready. And just today, a couple hours before the show, I learned that one of the other starters at guard, I think his last name's Strange, may miss the start of the season. So do you think it's Brissett then that starts week 1?
If I was a betting man, I would probably give it 65-35 on the yes. Are they going to correct all Drake May's hiccups in the next couple months? They're not. I guess the outliers are Mac Jones was very successful his rookie year. He also had a better offensive line than the Patriots currently do. Go back to last year. C.J. Stroud made it look effortlessly. Well, go and look at Carolina and Bryce Young. So I think the Patriots are not going to the playoffs this year. They're under overs at around 4.5, 5, depending upon where you're shopping. They're set to finish dead last in the East. That's where they're going to. Their schedule is extremely hard. They don't have a lot of big playmakers. So it's definitely a work in progress. So I'm going to say, Ron, answer today on May 21st at 3:15. No, Drake May will not start opening week.
Okay. Do you see anything? I mean, I'm okay with these wide receivers. They weren't the highest rated wide receivers, but there's a lot of clutter and cluster in terms of the way I rated the wide receivers. I don't have any problem that they drafted 2 wide receivers, of course, and I don't have any problem that these were the 2. How fast can they get up to speed? And what do you see from a coaching standpoint as far as have you heard anything about how the scheme might change, or are we just going to have to wait to August to find that out?
Well, I'll give you the inside scoop on the 37th pick in Jalen Polk. The Patriots had the second pick in the draft on Friday in the second round. We were waiting for the run on wide receivers, and Buffalo, who can't beat Kansas City, decided to trade picks and allow Kansas City Xavier Worthy, Tyreek Hill 2.0. Then the run on the wide receivers began. From a couple people, the Patriots got caught with their pants down. They reached back to the Bills, and they were trying to trade back in. They wanted Leggett from South Carolina, kind of Deebo Samuel part 2 there. And Buffalo says, thanks, but no thanks. We can't trade with you. And the trading into the division, I get that. That's an old thing. You don't trade amongst, your competitors. But it's the Kansas City Chiefs that the Bills can't beat. It's not the Patriots. So what happened is when the Bills traded with Carolina took Leggett. The Patriots then was able to sleep on it and then say, you know what? There's a list of a total of 6 wide receivers we're going to get. We're going to trade back to 37th. So again, settling for a wide receiver. Jalen Polk, who you and I talked about every Friday on my channel, we love Penix Jr. We love Polk, but as you and I both know, he's no Odunze. So Polk, I'll say, is a 1A, and what they're really hoping for was the pick at 110, the UCF Javon Baker, who after was drafted says, he basically says, here, take the popcorn. I make people in wheelchairs stand up. So he's the sizzle where Polk is the steak, Ron.
If this all works out, it's going to be an interesting combination. I have Polk as a wide receiver 2 type in the NFL that does all the dirty work. He blocks, he finds holes and seams. He does a lot of things that make a quarterback's job easier, but he's not a number 1 on an NFL team, in my opinion. Baker has more of a ceiling and more of a floor, so they complement each other. So I'm pretty okay with that. Before we get into season wins and division wins and whatever, I think it's appropriate right now to talk about the schedule. And the reason I bring that up is because New England has an interesting schedule. Where did I go here? There we go. You didn't disappear on me. New England has an interesting schedule to me. They made a choice after their overseas game, which is in England this year against the Jaguars, not to take the bye. And you and others who have listened to me speak before know how I feel about that. New coaches need that bye week early, because how are you going to make the adjustments? You're so busy from week to week to week. New coaches, the game goes fast for the players. It also goes fast for the coaches. So they're not going to have their bye until week 14. Do you think they should have taken their bye after London?
I have to say hats off. I'll go back to that draft for 1 second. I think in the quarterback room, they drafted Joe Milton, who can literally throw the ball out of the stadium, but he just doesn't know where it's going. My hunch will be the quarterback room will be Brissett, May. I think they hold on to Milton. I think Bailey Zappi will end up trying to latch on to another team there. Of course. And I give you hats off, because you talk about the rest. You talk about these teams that are lagging in rest, and you nailed it late last year about Kansas City. Late in the year, they finally got the bye, they finally caught up to some of these teams and actually had more rest than others. And then that's when they started to put it all together. So as always, Ron, hats off to you there. As for the Patriots, they know they're not, this is a 3-4 year project. This is not going to happen overnight. So maybe it is a 13-week tryout. So that's 3 months basically and a week. Here, guys, just get out there, stay healthy. Let's hope we have enough bodies to get through this godly schedule, and then we'll breathe for week 13, 14, as you said. So 100% yes. If this was 2-3 years into the reclamation project, I definitely think they would have taken that by there, Ron.
Okay. Yeah. So speaking of the schedule, and one of my other pet peeves is that new coaches need to get that first win under their belt. It used to be, even in exhibition, you didn't want to see a new coach go 0-4 in the exhibition season. There was actually a correlation between winless new coaches and regular season performance, believe it or not. Now, if I read you New England's first 8 games and then ask you the question, where's that first win? What are you going to say? At Cincinnati to start the year, home to Seattle, which is possible, at the Jets on a short week, Thursday night football. They stay on the road and go all the way to the West Coast to play the 49ers. Then they come home to play Miami, come home to play the Texans. Both teams, as we talked about before, it looks like New England's right now is not going to be favored at any time this year. Then they go the Jaguars, New England, the England game, and then the Jets. Offhand, if they don't win week 2 against the Seahawks, when does that first win come?
Well, you nailed it, because some of the locals here at 98.5 I was listening to the other day, they have week 2 circled. That's that must win right there. And I think it would be great for the staff. Don't forget, opening day, traveling to Cincinnati, hopefully a healthy Joe Burrow. They're not, I think they're 8.5, 9-point underdogs already there. They'll come back home, maybe 1.5-point dogs. I can't see Seattle being a big favorite going coast to coast here. So that's the game right there. And you're going to be surprised where as you were reading that schedule, I'm going to circle back to the team I think they're trying to emulate, and that would be the Texans. I think going there, I was going to talk about, I think the Patriots are really trying to look like the Texans. D'Amico Ryan, Gerard Mayo, CJ Stroud, Drake May. My problem is, I don't see a Nico Collins. I don't see a Tank Dell. I don't see a Dalton Schultz. And the one caveat is, at least we got Christian Gonzalez coming back. I was that guy telling them to jump back in and get Cooper DeJean and to get the corners or move one to safety. They didn't listen to me. They hung up on me, actually, Ron. But again, that 4.5, 5 number, I think it's going to be a sweat all year, Ron.
Yeah, well, the draft is over. There's nothing we can do about it. I try to change their draft every year. The schedule is out. And the season outlook doesn't look good if you ask the people who make these lines offshore and in Las Vegas and at all points in between. Season win, like you mentioned, there's 4.5s and there are some 5.5s. I think you have to lay about 150 or so if you want the under 5.5. You'll get plus money if you think they're going to win 6 or more games. And what I saw, I think it was plus 2,500. Is that what I saw to win the division? So not much hope as far as winning the division. Do you have any opinion on what you see in terms of the season win total?
I mean, I hate to lay the juice. I'm like you, but I can't see this team getting to 6 wins. So it would be almost one of those eat the juice minus the 150. And I'd feel very comfortable there versus trying to get cute and coy with the under 4.5. I remember, Ron, 2 years ago, the highest bet under was the Seattle Seahawks, and I think they were at that 4.5, 5 number. And then that was the year that they miraculously made it to the playoffs. So it can happen. Will it happen here in New England this year? No, it won't. The AFC is brutal, and it's just not their year. Maybe next year, but we'll probably be talking. They got an early draft pick again next year on our draft show, Ron.
Yeah, and once I saw this schedule come out, which was now 6 days ago, I will confess I have some of that under 5.5 money myself. Final slide I have here is these are my thoughts, and I want you to either add or anything you want to say on them. We talked about this already. The draft focus was fine, but both of us questioned, was it the right people? I always look at turnover ratios because some of it is random, but I don't think they're going to improve on that turnover ratio because they just are too raw at quarterback. So I don't see that moving up. I do have concerns, whoever takes the field at left tackle. The next one I have is this is a quote from Elliott Wolf, the GM. He says, we're going to be a draft and develop team. So to your point, Jeff, I think this is not a one-year fix. This is going on. Rookie quarterback performance and any defensive slippage are my thoughts as well there. Anything you want to add or talk about with that slide?
I think you nailed it. Elliott Wolf, Green Bay Packers. What do? They draft offensive line, they draft defense, and then they pencil in the offensive weapons. They didn't get Rodgers a wide receiver forever. Now look at Jordan Love, and he's got a plethora of them. So it's kind of comical there. I think the thought process is the ground and pound. They got Ramondre Stevenson coming off an injury. Zeke Elliott now back in Dallas, so we'll have to figure out the backfield there for the Patriots. I don't think they'll put Drake May into position to, let's say, lose the game. The Dinkin and Duncan, they'll take shots at the top. But my point is their defense showed flashes even without Christian Gonzalez last year. So I think it will be a defensive first. Hey, we got to get better. We can't be averaging less than 17 points a game here. They got to get into the 20s and be competitive there. So again, defense first. Don't put Drake into positions to lose the game, and then let's get over the 20-point mark, and then let's take it from there.
Final question for you. It's a biggie. Bill Belichick is gone after a long time. I mean, we are seeing some of the longest tenured coaches now leave the profession, not by choice with Belichick and with Pete Carroll. Are they going to miss Bill Belichick in any way, whether it be how he teaches people fundamentals, game time decisions, prepping for another team off by? What is your sense, even though Mayo is a Belichick guy, to what extent are they going to miss Bill Belichick on a weekly basis?
Exactly what you just said in that last 30 seconds, but that was the Bill Belichick I don't want to say in the early days, but leading up to the 6 rings, he was already 1, 2, 3 steps ahead of everyone. They always like to coin the phrase back here is he was always playing chess while everyone else was playing checkers. So there was no rule that the players didn't know. If you grabbed a Teddy Bruschi, you grabbed some of the old timers, the Teddy Johnsons of the world. Oh yeah, we practiced that where no one else practiced it. Well, you didn't see that sense of details in these Belichick teams the last couple years. The false starts, they're getting beat every first quarter. It was like the team wasn't ready. Now we got a whole new coaching staff here, Mayo at the helm. Everything I'm hearing, Ron, is the locker room's a lot more looser. They seem like really together. Now listen, you start the season 0-5, 0-6. We know what could happen. It could unspiral. But I think deep down, it's a fresh start. Again, I like where my eyes are, really trying to emulate the Houston Texans. And I think, hey, we don't know. No one knows. Will they miss Bill? Of course they will. But I can guarantee you this one thing. The media and the media room on Mondays on to Cincinnati or after a game will not miss them.
Well, Jeff, I want to thank you so much for being part of this. Not every team is going to have a rosy picture in 2024. And we knew coming into New England that we weren't going to every team starts 0-0, but that first win for New England might be tougher than some of the other teams. Thank you so much for doing this. I know you're busy with more sports than just football. So follow Jeff. Make sure you tune into his shows. He's got more shows today. He's got shows tomorrow all over the place. Tomorrow, I come back with the Cleveland Browns with a guest that's familiar to the Twitter world, Cleve TA. It'll be my first conversation with him. So I'm looking forward to talking Cleveland Browns football. Again, Jeff, thanks so much for being a part of this show, and come back tomorrow for future shows. Thank you.
Thank you.